You're listening to Family Today with Funmi Johnson.
It's a beautiful Friday morning and I'm super excited to be with you today. This is Family Today with Funmi Johnson. And today we're going to be having a real family talk. Something happened over the week and I need to share this with you. You know you're my family, right? I attended a wedding less than 2 years ago, precisely about 15 months ago. And I was excited to be at the wedding because, you know, these are people that are like your own children. Though it was shocking for me to get a call from one of the parents saying, you need to talk to your child. I said, what happened? He said, the marriage has broken. I said, no way. He said, oh, that broke down last year already. He said, less than a year. I said, no, I don't believe that. I said, we spend so much money, and I mean so much money. When I say a lot of money, you know, different parties. The wedding was over 3 days. Actually 4, because there was the one for the young people, there was the court, then the engagement, that was a large party, over 1,000 people. There was now the exclusive, they called it the intimate. That was another destination. And I mean, Ashwebi on top of Ashwebi, food, like 4 caterers, you know, different segments for the dancing. A lot of money was spent. So I said, what happened? And the story, I had to now sit this couple down, you know, separately to find out exactly what went wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it. I know when we get married, generally there are certain things that we discover, especially after the honeymoon phase. Immediately after the honeymoon, we come to the reality stage and we see that this man actually is not like what we thought, and this woman is not like this, and the reality sets in. They're not necessarily bad things, they're just the reality of who we truly got married to. But this one was not just the reality thing, it was something else. But what I concluded and found out in my talking with the 2 people involved was that the in-laws didn't do well in the relationship. So today I'm going to be talking to you about in-laws. Are there in-laws? You know, my reference is always the Bible. I know there are in-laws in the Bible. We know the popular story of Ruth and Naomi. Naomi was married to Ruth's son, and the son died, and Ruth insisted that she was going with Naomi, knowing fully well that the husband was already dead. What kind of relationship existed between Ruth and Naomi that would make Naomi want to follow her mother-in-law? We also know of Jethro and Moses. Jethro was Moses' father-in-law. They had a fantastic relationship. Even Moses lived in his house. And when Moses was the counselor and the overseer of the people of Israel, he heeded the advice of Jethro in counseling. So they had a very good relationship. But we know of another bad one though. That's David and Saul. Saul was David's father-in-law, and he actually almost killed him. So there's a good in-law relationship. There is the bad in-law relationship. We also know about Peter, because Peter had his mother-in-law staying with them, because I remember Jesus went to heal Peter's mother-in-law. So the in-laws have existed. As long as there are husbands and wives, there will be in-laws, because these husbands and wives didn't fall from heaven. They were given birth to by some people. So I think it's important for us today on Family Today to talk about in-law relationships. So in-laws, oh yeah, gather here, everybody. And then spouses too, carry your seat, sit down. If you are driving, make sure you're focusing on this, you know, because it's such an important discourse. I'm not going to open the phone lines today, but I want you to take your pen, paper, take your phones, record this segment, because it's either you already are the in-law or you will soon become one. 2 years ago, I wasn't in-law to nobody, but right now I have a son-in-law, I have a daughter-in-law, so things can change. And the same way I have a son-in-law and a daughter-in-law, they also have mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, and all that. So let's talk about this. So it's either you are the in-law or you are the spouse or you are the son or daughter. So we're going to talk about this, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. Let us look at it this way. I was telling you my story that I had And the story is very, very devastating, heartbreaking. And the painful thing is, like, these people are supposed to be friends. The parents had known themselves even before the children were born. So that's what made it even more devastating. So let's say it this way. The first thing you must do, even when you become either a daughter-in-law, son-in-law, or you are the mother-in-law, father-in-law, you must make sure your behavior is consistent. What did I say? Your behavior must be consistent. And what do I mean by that? Are you a believer of Christ? The first thing is this. There are two commandments that are important to us. The Pharisees went to Jesus and they asked him, which is the greatest commandment? And you know what he told them? He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your might, with all your soul. And he said the second commandment is like that. And what's the second commandment? Love your neighbor as yourself. So whether you're the mother-in-law or the father-in-law, son or daughter-in-law, the first principle you must uphold is the principle of love. You owe your in-law to love them the same way we are being commanded. The Bible says, owe no man nothing but love. You owe your in-laws to love them. This does not ignore the realities about the peculiarity of who they are. But one thing is certain. If you come from the prism, from the paradigm of love, you would overlook a lot of things. So, number one, you owe your in-laws to love them. And I want to particularly talk to the mothers of husbands. I don't know where we got this from. In the course of my counseling, this couple that's broken down their marriage and they are already heading to court as I speak, we're still hoping and trusting that something can happen. But even if the couple want to work on it, the in-laws have said over their dead body. So what's going to happen? The in-laws have said, no way, we're not going to allow this to be. You know what happened? The mother of the groom, she has laws and rules as to how a good wife is supposed to behave. How a good wife should relate with her husband's family. How a good wife should treat her husband's mother. How a good wife should treat her husband's siblings. She had all the rules. Unfortunately, the young lady did not conform to her expectations. So she decided she was going to deal with her and show her that the husband's family determines or dictates the pace in the home. You know, being a mother to a son and a daughter who are married, I was confused. I said, okay, mommy, you have daughters. How would you feel if your own daughters are given these rules? You know what she said? She said those were the rules she lived by. And if she survived, our daughters should brace themselves, they will also survive. So that is why I have to bring this to the radio today, because I want you to understand that the mere fact that you went through an ordeal and you were told that that is the way things are supposed to be does not necessarily mean that you were right and they were right. And because you have suffered those things does not mean that the next generation would have to suffer. She told me I would go to my mother-in-law's house. I would help her shop. I would help her clean the house. If I stumble on her when she's cooking, I would jettison the cooking of my own house. I would stay with her all day until we're done with the cooking. I said, they are such wonderful things you've done. But I said, that is not practical now. Things are not as easy as they were then. I mean, and then it was your choice to do it. What if your daughter-in-law does not want to say, no, she doesn't have a choice? That is how you must comport yourself to be able to survive in your husband's house. I know you want me to open the phone lines, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to. But I would create a time when we can do this. For today, I want you to listen to me. You may try to uphold your own set rules and tradition and actually shut out the mercy of God. The first thing you are is that you are a child of God and you must operate by love. I am a child of God. I've given my life to Jesus. He is the Lord and King over my life. I must represent Him even as a mother-in-law. I must. So I need to show kindness. I need to show mercy. I need to show perseverance, patience, understanding. Now, what I'm saying, we should operate in love. It does not mean that the reality that some in-laws are difficult, controlling, manipulative, and some are emotionally, mentally dysfunctional, or some don't even share your faith. You are a Christian and your in-laws are Muslims, so you don't agree even with principles of how you operate by faith. This may be hard and challenging. The problem is that they are not just anyone, so you can't discard them. Say, for instance, you have a daughter and so you have a son-in-law, but the parents of your son-in-law are not sharing the same faith as you. That means some principles you will not agree on. So you have to learn some skills on how to relate with them, because they are not connected to your spouse through genetics, history, and complex psychological dynamics, but they are your in-laws. So what are the things you need to do if you think that your in-laws are intruding into your marital life? What are the things you need to do? I'm going to give you some ground rules, and then I'm also going to teach you on some things you can do to help you balance your life. I need you to understand that you first of all have to choose your spouse over your parents. I know that's a hard one, right? And I'll tell you that. What did the Bible say? In Genesis chapter 2, after the Lord removed Eve out of Adam, when Adam came to his senses, when Adam woke up, he looked at Eve and said, "This is now the bone of my bone and the flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman, because she is the mother of all living." Then the next thing, and then the Bible says, "And now for this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and the two of them shall become one flesh." Now, what does that mean? Do you know that at that time in the Garden of Eden, there were only two people there? Who were the two people? Adam and Eve. Why would the Bible say, for this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother? No father, no mother. There were only two people. Because the plan of God is that every home will be independent. Every home will be independent. You will come from your family and start a new family, totally independent of the one that you came out from. That's why the Bible says, for this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and the two of them will become one flesh. Jesus cited this also when they were asking him the question, I think in Matthew 19, about divorce. He told them, in the beginning it was not so. Paul cited this scripture also in Ephesians chapter 5. For this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife. So, in-laws, I want you to know, the plan of God is that you, as a couple, will give birth to your children. And when those children are of age, they would marry and they will live. Now, living is supposed to be physical, mental, emotional. It's living in all ramifications. It does not mean that they would not have regards for you again as parents, but it means that they have graduated from your tutelage. They have graduated from being under your wings, that they have learned enough from you to be able to stand on their own and make their own decisions and face the consequence of their own actions. Now, this is a very emotional time for parents and for adult children. And I want to recommend to you that as a parent, as soon as you see that your children are of age, especially when they are now in relationship that will lead to marriage, start withdrawing yourself from them, allowing them to make their decisions. And sometimes they will make bad choices. You just have to step back. You pray for them more than you interfere. I'm going to stop the conversation now. Remember, this is Family Today with Funmi Johnson. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, Threads, the Funmi Johnson. And then you can ask questions. If you send me a DM, I will be able to respond. And if you want to know more, you can go to my YouTube channel and you will learn so many things about life. I know this is a very, very serious discourse and you want to know the answers. We'll continue the conversation after the short break.
Paul says it is better for a single man to marry than to burn. Are you single, married, widowed, separated, or divorced? Join me on Family Today.
Family Today with Funmi Johnson is one program that will bring you in alignment with who you truly are and open your mind to how you rock your significant interpersonal relationships while sidestepping the landmines, culture, religion, and society have laid in your path. Family Today with Funmi Johnson goes where others are shy to go and shines the light in the dark corners others have forgotten. Tune in at 11:30 a.m. every Friday to listen to Family Today with Funmi Johnson on Inspiration 92.3 FM.
Now we're back. So first of all, I want to establish this. Let me talk to the spouses first before I talk to their parents. Exodus chapter 20 states explicitly, verse 12, that we should honor our parents. So as you are getting married or you've gotten married, I want you to know that it's important for you to honor your parents. How do you honor them? You show patience, kindness, gentleness, respect. You need to understand that they're your parents and they have labored over you for the past, I don't know how old you are now, 25, 30, 35 years. It's important for you to honor them. It's also important for you to know that most times these parents, they sometimes had to truncate their career, lose some things to be able to make the sacrifice that is required to put you where you're at. I know the Bible says that parents are supposed to labor for their children, but when they choose to do so and give you those platforms and opportunities, it is your responsibility also to love, honor, and respect your parents. So when you are looking at your relationship from that perspective, it will choose how you relate with them. First of all, husband, wife, you must honor your parents. Honor your biological parents, honor your parents-in-laws. Very, very important. So that's the first thing. Now, they may have traditions that you do not agree with. Some of them, like I say, for instance, you're a Christian, your parents-in-laws are Muslims, they want to observe the ITWLA festival, the Tunuawe, and then you want to do Easter and Christmas and some other things that you believe in. You have to sit down and understand that that is important to them, even if it is not important to you. And then you work out what you need to do to make them feel loved. Remember, you need to respect your parents. Now to the parents. You need to understand that at one point, your children would have to leave you. They have to leave you. That leaving is not actually their choice. It's a commandment from God. It will be your responsibility to help them to leave you. A lot of parents, they interfere. So the first point is respect within limits the relationship you have with your married children. Write it down. Respect within limits. Ask their opinion. Respect their boundaries. What are the things they do? Let me tell you what happened. 2 times I went to visit someone that is like a son to me in North America, and when I got there and they said it's no shoe zone in their home, they don't allow shoes in. So what did we do? Of course, we wear shoes in our house. We had to remove our shoes. Now, I wear support shoes. And I need to wear my shoes to correct my flat foot. So now that became an issue. And we weren't going to stay for just a day. We're going to stay for a couple of days. For the first day, I didn't wear the slippers and I went in. And by the morning, I was in excruciating pain. So I had to what am I going to do? You know what I did? I took one of my slippers, washed it, sanitized it, because I recognized and respected that what they were saying is, we believe that when you go outside, you come in with germs. So when you come in with germs, then you're going to infect our house. And what we do is, once we get to the door, we remove the shoes so that the germs of outside stay outside. I respected them. It's not my house, it's their house. So I cleaned and I had a meeting with them that, I'm flat-footed and I would need to wear my slippers in the house so that it doesn't affect my comfort, and I'll be in severe pain if I don't do so. Oh, by all means, what can we do? They gave me a house slipper. I said, no, I have to wear my customized orthopedic slippers. They understood. We didn't have a conflict. Mother-in-law, how many times did I call you? Even though your son is the one in the house, it is not your house. And let me bust your bubble. Neither is it your son's house. It is the house of your son and his wife. Oh, I know you don't like that. It's the truth. Because these days, you don't even know who is paying the house rent. Whether it is the man or the woman or both of them. You don't even know. So all those things we say in our generation, own Lolioko, you're not going to any Ilioko. You're going to the house that both of you have rented. It's not Ilioko, nothing. So mother-in-law, get it right down there. Stop putting your foot down in your son's house, because that house literally belongs to both him and his wife, and you don't even know who is paying more. So don't go there. What's the rule? Don't go there. So respect within limits the relationship you have with your in-laws. And I want to put some ground rules, like I said. What are those limits? Here are things that honoring your in-laws does not mean. Number one, it does not require that you submerge all your own feelings, desires, preferences, and needs in the service of doing things their ways. So I'm saying this to your son and to your daughter-in-law, or to your daughter and to your son-in-law. So, and I want you as a mother-in-law to listen to me. I'm a life coach, I'm a relationship therapist, and I'm a marriage counselor. And I'm saying, mother-in-laws in particular, you are destroying your children's homes by not respecting their boundaries. So this is the counsel I'm giving to your son and to his wife. Listen to me. They're going to honor you, they're going to love you, they're going to respect you, but that does not require that they will submerge all their own feelings, their desires, their preferences and needs in serving you. I will not advise them to do that. Number two, it does not mean that they would allow you to disrespect, control, or manipulate them for your own selfish ends. They're going to honor you, but they're not going to allow you to have your way anyhow, even if it does not make sense. It does not also mean that they're going to obey all your requests and requirements, which in some instances are petty. Let me give you another story. A mother-in-law went to her son's house and found out that they were feeding the baby with pap, and then they mixed it with ewedu. I think ewedu is jute leaf and avocado. And she said, how dare you? And they're like, how dare you what? That no, you cannot mix pap with ewedu. So they were trying to explain that we are introducing meals in sequence. For all 4 days, the baby was on ewedu alone, just a spoon, to see if she's going to react. Now we're deliberately adding the avocado to it to see if it can work together. And then we introduced the pap because I said, what is the business of the mother-in-law over somebody's child? Mother-in-law, stay in your house. You can't love their child more than them. You can't. In your time, you gave only pap. Say, it's pap and crayfish. Say, that is your time. When you come to your son or daughter's house, you are a visitor. It's their house. Respect their boundaries. Please. Especially women. I know a few father-in-laws have problems too, but 90% of the problems are with the mothers. Mothers, they your day. Make her talk on behalf of these children. They don't send me come meet you. And they beg you, I beg, make you stay your lane. This while I did too much. If you go their house, you give them small advice. As they change face like this, you just tell them that I was just a suggestion. Withdraw it immediately. And if you think that advice is going to harm them, go on your knees for them. Pray for them. Ask God to protect them. Do you realize you were much younger than them when you got married? Did you realize that? And these children, this is the age of AI, ChatGPT. They are 10 times wiser than we are. Leave them alone and allow them to make their mistakes. So, the three things I said is this. They're going to honor you, they're going to respect you, but that does not mean that you will submerge their feelings, their desires, and preferences. Number two, it does not mean that they will permit you to disrespect, control, and manipulate them for your selfish ends. Also, it does not mean that they're going to obey all your parental requests, because some of them don't really, I don't want to say they don't make sense. Some of them are not necessary. Some of them are just traditions and they are convenient for you. They are not convenient for them. Very, very important. Another complication that come up in relationship is when you have to side your child over your child's spouse. That's favoritism. You know your child because you've known your child from birth. This spouse, you're just getting to know. So you cannot side your child over his spouse. I would rather you be an unbiased umpire or just stay away. Now, let me tell you some of the things you can do to endear your relationship with your son-in-law or daughter-in-law. 1, find a common interest. It works like magic. Let me give you this for free. One of my in-laws, I won't say whether it's a son or the daughter, loves plants. I love plants. So we have a common interest, and then I will look at their lilies. I'm like, oh my goodness, look at your lilies. Then this in-law is so excited to show me all the flowers, and when the lily blossoms, I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I look at the cactus, and then the mother-in-law's tongue, the plant, I call that one of the shakabula plants. It can survive anywhere. It will even banter on that okay, that's not my own tongue, this is not, and it's such a beautiful thing. I'm just getting to know this person. I've only met this person a few years. I can't be like a mother immediately, and I need to understand that. But we can communicate on a common interest. We name the plants. How's your rubber plant doing? You would think I'm asking about the child. I said, oh, and they come and see, this one had new leaves. I got 3 new leaves on this one, and then on this one, and on this one, and this conversation goes on, and it's so beautiful. And then when they're trimming, when they're cutting, when they're dressing the plants, and I'm just watching, and we can be on the video for like almost an hour just looking at the plants, because that's a common interest. What is a common interest you have with your daughter-in-law or son-in-law? Friends. Even when they fight, because of that common interest, they make up easily. Mother-in-laws, why don't you try and cultivate friendship with your son-in-law or daughter-in-law? That's number 1. Number 2 is watch and observe what they want and be of help. You know why? You're growing old, mother-in-law. You're growing old, father-in-law. You're 65, 62, 59. You will soon be 70, 80. By that time, you're going to not be so strong anymore. If you are not their friends, then you will not be able to rely on them to support you the way you would want at that time when your energy has dwindled and you can't move like you used to. So find that common interest, fellowship around that common interest. Because you're respecting their boundaries, they're also going to respect you. Then consciously look at the things that they want and give to them. Also reciprocate their gestures. someone told me, I will close with this, that she gave her mother-in-law a gift, and the mother-in-law returned it and said, I don't like it. I'm going to ask you, you can send me a comment. Do you think it is right for the mother-in-law to say, I don't like the gift? Should she receive it and pretend that she likes it? Should she communicate it to, I don't know if it's the son or the daughter, depending on who is? What should she have done? I would like your comments, on this. And then I would want to also say to you, whatever it is that you're doing, end with what I started with. Let it start from the angle of love, because God so loved the world that he gave. You must love God enough that you keep giving to humanity the same grace and favor and mercy and justice as God gave. And on a final note, I want to plead with you, especially mother-in-laws, please allow your sons to breathe. Don't let them have to choose between you and their spouses. It puts them in a very difficult position. Even if you see that the woman is manipulative, it's actually the fallen nature of women to be manipulative. If you are a wiser woman, pray for her. Don't try to protect your son from the woman you're sleeping with. It's a lost battle. You're going to end up destroying that marriage, and that's not your intention. Please let your children live as they have been commanded by God. Love them enough. And when you do, both of them, when you love your son and his wife, or your daughter and her husband, both of them are going to end up loving you. So instead of one child, you're going to gain two, and then your end will be better than the beginning. This is Family Today with Funmi Johnson. It's been a very tough discourse, and I know we would open the phone lines maybe next episode so that we can actually drill down on this, and I know you will have some contributions. Start writing them down, and you can follow me again on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Threads, the Funmi Johnson, and we continue this conversation same time next week.
Family Today with Funmi Johnson is powered by the Capstone Church Without Walls.